Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Canny Crystals, the podcast. I hope that you're all well. As you know by now, my name is Mart. I'm your host, and I've got a little manifestation story to tell you this week. Well, actually, I've got three. Can you believe? Because Jess Cunningham was on the podcast last week, I actually recorded that the week before. So these three manifestation stories, they've all happened in the last couple of weeks, but because I pre-recorded that podcast episode, I haven't had a chance to talk to you a lot about them. How rude. So the first is that I've been invited on another cruise. Can you believe? I remember being on the cruise last time with Fran, and every day, when we got back to our cabin, we would literally be like looking at each other like, oh my God, look at the sea. Oh my God, look at that sunshine. And just like, I'm so grateful that this is our room. I'm so happy I'm on board and that all of this food and drink is paid for. And just really being truly grateful that we were able to, enjoy ourselves and make the most of it. So we all know what happens when we give gratitude and thanks to a situation, don't we, boys and girls? The universe says, oh, you like that, don't you? You want some more? Here you go. And just like that, me and Fran have been invited on another cruise. Also, as well as an exclusive luxury trip to Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, the anti-gay capital of the world. I mean, am I going to get murdered? Probably. Am I going to end up in jail? More than likely. I mean, it's absolutely amazing, but both trips, unfortunately, clash with other commitments that I have. So the cruise gets us back in the UK the day before our one-night event in London. So can you imagine how manic that's going to be? I think it's just going to be totally stressful doing that, being away for a week, coming back, going to London for 3 days. And then after the London show, I'm at Shania Twain in Leeds because, man, I feel like a woman. And then that's on the Thursday night. And then on the Sunday, I go to Johnny's mum's in Spain for the week. I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, the Abu Dhabi trip would mean coming home from Spain 2 days earlier than usual. Haven't spoke to Johnny about this yet. I am considering it. He doesn't listen to the podcast, but I don't know how I feel about all that. It means that I would have to fly from Malaga to Heathrow, then get the connecting flight to the United Arab Emirates for the sake of 4 days. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but we'll see. She's an international woman, ladies and gentlemen. My second manifestation is such an amazing one. I've been doing this EFT tap-in for £50,000 on YouTube. Just type tap-in for 50k if you want to do it yourself on YouTube, because I'm determined, absolutely determined to have a 50k month. Obviously, when I spoke about 30k months a while ago, it triggered so many people. So just to reinforce what I said last time, just because I'm turning over 30k a month doesn't mean I am earning 30k a month. Okay, there's a big difference there. My outgoings for this business are currently around £25,000 a month. And that's just to keep the business afloat, to pay for the office, pay for the stock, pay for the packaging, pay for my staff, pay VAT, all of that. It doesn't mean to say that I earn £30,000 a month, because I have to pay all them outgoings. Anyway, I've been doing this tap-in video for a couple of months now, every single morning. And I had a lovely lady buy one of my beautiful clear quartz spheres from my website about a month ago. And about a week after receiving it, she messaged us and she said, asking if I had any more in stock. So I replied and I said, oh, yes, I have one. How many are you after? And she replied, oh, okay, I was after 300. 300 bloody clear quartz spheres. I was like, okay. And I thought to myself, 300, she must be another crystal shop. She's wanting wholesale. Now, wholesale is a totally different kettle of fish, and it's difficult for me because my prices, they're already so low. So by selling at wholesale cost, that would mean I probably wouldn't make much, if anything at all. And shipping 300 kilograms of crystals by air freight, that's going to bloody cost as it is. So I went to email her back, and as I did, I just noticed, when you notice someone's email address, it ended in @chanel.com. This lady works for Chanel. So just to put that into perspective, earlier this year, I was featured in 3 issues of British Vogue. I then spoke at Stella McCartney's Pride event, and now Chanel want to use my crystals. I don't get it. Am I like the crystal guru to fashion people? Is that my niche? I don't know. Who knows? Answers on a postcard. So I got back to them anyway. I asked all the details, when do they need them for? What's the event? Basically, they are having a client dinner and wanted some very specific table centerpieces in the way of crystal spheres. They wanted a very specific dimension and weight, so you better believe I was straight on the phone to my contacts at the mines. Now, usually there is a good 60-day lead time. This is a bit of behind-the-scenes info. There is a good 60-day lead time, and that means if you want anything bespoke or anything that they don't currently manufacture or make as standard, you'll be waiting around 2 months for them to be made. Then they have to be flown over. They've got to clear customs. They've got to get to me. I've got to check them. I've got to photograph them. I've got to list them on my website. And Bob's your uncle. You guys then buy them. But this was different. The event from the day that she contacted me was in 4 weeks' time. So when I got the go-ahead for the work, I was sat in my nana's house, bless her. God love her. I'd given myself the Friday afternoon off. I thought I'll go and see my nana for 2 or 3 hours. And I'd just got there. My nana lives around 45 minutes drive from me. So I'd just got there. I'd put the kettle on. I'd said hello. I'd sat down and my phone started to blow up. So I got the email to say that they'd confirmed the work to start. So I had to quickly call back the people dealing with the mines and explain the situation. They then had to put things in place and move around other jobs, to ensure that it was done within the 4 weeks to get them on that plane over here, cleared customs in time for this event. What a drama. Honestly, I was running around like a headless chicken, outside, inside, in my nana's bedroom. My poor nana was sat there in the living room. I'm in the bedroom on the phone for about an hour. My mum even got so bored, she left without even saying bye to us. In the end, I had to grab me stuff, apologise to my nana, and I just said, look, I'm really, really sorry, but I'm going to have to go back to the office and sort all this out. And I felt absolutely crap about, but I've been back over since, and she was fine about it. But yeah, guess what? This work from Chanel means that I have now successfully turned over more than £50,000 this month. Tapping works, y'all. So I closed the deal for Chanel. I'm going to be really honest with you here. I closed the deal for Chanel for £27,000. Obviously, I've got to pay the mines for expediting the job. Obviously, I've got to pay the expensive air freight, all the time I spend going backwards and forth to client and the mines. But £27,000, that is my biggest order so far. Can you top that? And I've just asked for photos for the event as well, because if they're spending £27,000 on just the table centerpieces, I want to see what that bloody rest of that night looks like, Isn't that absolutely insane? So you might have now seen on my website, I now have a little, here's who we've worked with section. And it now has Vogue, Stella McCartney, and Chanel. Can you believe? I'm here for it. I'm loving it. I just hope and pray now that, they get it in time for their event and there are no hiccups along the way, because, oh my God, can you imagine if they don't get it in time? But yes, try that tapping video. I think she's called Margaret Lynch off the top of my head. But if you just head to YouTube and type tapping for 50k, it's about 5 minutes long. Like I say, I've been doing it every morning, and shortly after, things are happening. Whether it be a money-making idea or an opportunity coming my way, it works. I know that Jess Cunningham in last week's episode said that she no longer taps. But I said this in my Manifest with Mark group the other day. Spirituality is subjective. And what works well for one person might not resonate with another. It's all about finding that balance and finding what works best for you. And then, moving on to my third manifestation, you might have seen this on my Instagram story late last Friday night, because to be quite honest, I was laying in bed. I had wet knickers at the thought of it. So last Friday, I interviewed Jess on the pod and we talked about what I want from my vision board. And I said so nonchalantly, there's a house that I put on my vision board back in January, but there's currently people living in it. I want them to hurry up and sell, because from the outside, that's my dream home. So back earlier this year, me and Johnny had a ride up to this place in Ponteland, which is a village just outside of Newcastle. It's enough for it to be classed as Newcastle, but it's also far out enough for it to be classed as countryside, kind of village living. It's got a few restaurants, shops and pubs, but it is very, very rural. A lot of footballers live up there, actually. There's a little place next to it called Darras Hall. If you're from Newcastle, you'll know the area really well. It's where all the posh folk live. Ant and Dec have got houses up there, for example. I'm sure Cheryl Cole lived up there at one point with her mum. Anyway, we started driving up there to walk JJ, our dog, just to get into that mindset of actually living there and getting used to our surroundings. And one day we were walking around this beautiful little estate and I took a few snaps of this gorgeous house. And when I got home, I put them on my vision board and I said to myself, one day. And a few weird things have happened over the last few months since doing that and setting me intentions for moving to Ponteland. So firstly, we were told that because we were adopting and they're like the child to have stability, basically. So they basically said to us, if we get a child, we wouldn't be able to move until that child had been placed with us for about a year. Ball ache, but we move. It's not that big of a deal, to be totally honest. But our house price seemed to skyrocket after this. So the house we're currently in, we bought for 181,000 and it's now worth just over 220,000. So in just 4 years, we've made 40 grand on it. And then we've also been going to adoption training with this lovely couple. And when I asked where they lived, they said Ponteland. And just when the universe is dropping all these little hints here, there, and bloody everywhere, I feel like it's happening. Okay, so anyway, to cut a long story short, I had no idea how much those houses on that estate were because none of them were for sale. It's one of those areas where it's very rare that a house does go up for sale. So I set myself an alert on Rightmove just in case any come up in the postcode area, and I left it at that. I think I did that back in February, something like that. No houses have come up for sale since in that area. Can you believe? Nobody has put their house up for sale. I know it might be the wrong climate right now with everything that we're going through with a recession. Who knows? But anyway, I was listening back to my episode last Friday with Jess, and I was laughing at myself saying, I wish the people living in that house would hurry up and fuck off and leave. That's basically what I said. And I found myself daydreaming again whilst looking up at my vision board in my office and seeing the house looking back at me. So guess what happened that night? It was 10 p.m. Friday night. I'm laying in bed and I get an email from Rightmove saying that a house has come up in that postcode. And I thought, oh, this is exciting. Let's have a look. Let's see if it's suitable. Let's see what the prices are, that kind of thing. I will give you one guess as to which house it was that's for sale. One guess. The one that is on my vision board. Can you believe that? Not a house that looks like it. Not a house that's on the same street. The exact house. Now, I put this on my story. I can't even describe the shock in Johnny when I sat up in bed screaming, oh my God, because he must have thought someone died. But yes, there it was, my dream home from my vision board up for sale. If that's not the law of attraction at work, I honestly don't know what it is. Like I say, I shared this on my story and so many of you messaged me back like, oh my God, this is a sign. This is it. This is going to happen for you. And honestly, here's the downside, okay? And I really shouldn't say the downside because it's not a downside as such. It's just more of a hurdle, okay, if you prefer to say that. The cost of the house is £800,000. The stamp duty alone, I mean, what the hell is stamp duty? The stamp duty is £30,000. So then we would have to pay, all the usual solicitors' fees, the conveyancing, all that adult crap. It's shit being an adult. Don't grow up. So yeah, we're looking at a ballpark figure of £850,000. So I'm reframing this. It's not a downside. It's a hurdle. I'm going to do it. I just don't know how. We did the mortgage calculator on the Rightmove website, and it was like, how much money are you putting down as a deposit? The minimum you can put down on a house is 10%. So that's 80k straight away. I don't have 80k spare. And it said that over 25 years, the mortgage payment would be, get this, £4,700 per month. The mortgage payment is nearly £5,000 a month. Obviously, this is a massive blow for me, and interest rates are sky high at the minute anyway, but Jesus Christ, that's astronomical, isn't it? £5,000 a month. So I thought to myself, how did I manifest the Range Rover? I went and test drove it. I took photos of myself living in it, driving it. I took photos of me feet on those pedals. I took photos of me hands wrapped around the wheel, and then I whacked them on my vision board, and I would play myself a video that I'd made of myself walking around the car, opening the boot, getting in the driving seat, adjusting the mirror, ready to take off in this new car. I would play that to myself before visualizing, and look what happened. I was told that car was going to take 16 months to arrive because of the backlog of manufacturing parts post-pandemic, and there it was on my drive just 5 months later. I didn't know how it was going to be able to afford it or anything like that, but just like that, my sales increased, so I was able to cover that extra bit of payment by paying myself a couple of £100 more a month. What I'm trying to say is that by doing the work, things fell into place for me. So, with that in mind, I was like, you know what? I'm going to book a viewing. I'm going to take photos of myself in every room to really feel that sense of living there. And I mean, Johnny was laying next to me in bed. He was giving me the classic eye roll emoji through his facials as if to say, here we go again. But when I'm fixated on something, I will do everything in my power to give myself the best opportunity possible at achieving it. So I'm on the phone to the estate agents and they said, you know, we need to check your eligibility for the property just before you book this viewing. How much deposit are you putting down? Well, I just had to lie through my teeth and I was like, £250,000. So he was like, oh, great. And how much do you earn a year? The first number that popped out of my head was 400,000. So we went with that. And he was like, okay, you've passed the eligibility criteria. I was like, Jesus Christ. When do you want to view the house? So I gave him my availability. And when he got back to us about half an hour later, he said the current owners would be the ones doing the viewing. Ugh. How am I supposed to lie in their bath and take photos of myself, lay there, pretending to have a bubble bath for my vision board with them staring at us? Like, excuse me, can you just leave the room for a split second while I use your toilet? Oh, I'm just going to jump in the bath here. Oh, actually, that's not a bad idea. I could do that. But yeah, anyway, I wanted to take photos of myself, you know, pretending to cook in the kitchen, lay on their bed, making the table in the dining room, chilling out in the garden, you know, all those things that I could potentially be doing if that was my house. To be honest, I might just even tell them what I do for a job and ask if they would mind if I did it anyway. I've asked for crazier things. Who knows? They might even believe in the law of attraction themselves. They just might think I'm normal rather than the weirdo that they might think if they don't understand it. I might even get in their dressing gown and slippers and jump on the bed. Who knows? Watch this space. I'm sure there'll be plenty of content about it. But yeah, I am telling you, that house is mine. I don't know how it's going to come to me. I don't know why it'll come to me, but I have utter faith that we're meant to live in that house. I can see it in my mind's eye. And what the mind can believe, the body can receive. Honestly, it might take a year, it might take 2, but I will be living in that house. Apologies in advance if you listen to this podcast and that's your house. I very much doubt it, but if you could give me a discount, that would be amazing. Yeah, I've just got one last thing to quickly mention before we end this week's episode. And that's that I've recently moved podcast providers. So I was using one that was fine for starting out, but I recently got talking to our little friend Emma Mumford about who she uses and the fact that, you know, they put adverts on for things like the Co-op, the National Lottery at the start and the end. And this helps to fund the podcast itself. So with my previous podcast host, I was paying nearly like 60 quid a month just to host this podcast and the whole back catalogue across all streaming platforms like Spotify, Audible. And other than you lot buying something from the website, I obviously didn't get paid. Well, this new podcast host means that by placing that little 30-second advert at the start and end of the episode, there might be one in the middle as well, I can't remember if it said that, it'll basically cover that £60 a month. So you might notice a little advert here and there, but just know that it's still the same old podcast and that it just means that by you listening to it for that 30 seconds, it's paying for me to host the show. So, woohoo. If you would like to support me even further, don't forget you can use the word podcast as a discount code at cannycrystals.co.uk or cannycrystalsacademy.co.uk for 10% off everything. And if you would absolutely love a 30-day free trial of Audible, have a look at the links in my Instagram bio and hit the 30-day free trial button. It's great for self-development, audiobooks on the go. You can cancel whenever you want to. For example, Johnny signed up to it the other day and he downloaded an audiobook and he cancelled his subscription straight away. Winner, winner. My 21-day Manifest and Money Challenge is now also available on Amazon to buy as a book as well, would you believe? The link for that is in my Instagram bio too. You can also view all my spiritual recommendations, you know, of tarot decks, spiritual items, all that jazz at the link in my Instagram bio as well. It says view my spiritual recommendations. Go and check it out. I absolutely love working with Amazon at the moment. They are giving me so many discounts, so many free trials to pass on to my listeners. So I love it. Anyway, I have also got loads more pieces of Moldavite, as well as Moldavite necklace pendants, Moldavite in quartz pendants, so much more. Check it out on the website. Use that discount code now before it all goes. If you have enjoyed this episode, please, please, please go leave a quick 5-star review, you know, like, share or follow. Tag me in your pictures of yourself listening along. I love to see them all. I'm at Canny Crystals on Instagram. And I'll see you all next Friday for another episode. Have a beautiful weekend, guys. Bye.